Okay. All right, score, we got it, okay. I praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Chimney swifts. They get their name from their preferred nesting site, which are chimneys, and their speedy flight. A few amazing facts about these gregarious and highly under-researched birds. A chimney swift would fit in your hand. It's 5.5 inches. It weighs as much as a letter would weigh in your hand. They spend their day they spend their day on the wing with their buddies. Remember, they're gregarious, mostly eating thousands of bugs, mosquitoes, beetles, bugs. They court on the wing. They mate on the wing. They drink water, bathe, and they drink little raindrops. They gather sticks for nesting materials. More on that later. They have long, curved wings that extend past their tail feathers. They stop only to sleep and nest inside vertical surfaces like chimneys, abandoned cabins, or hollow trees. Their small, sharp claws, you can see that right on the top there, hold onto the rough surfaces, and their stiff tail feathers, right there, help to support their body on these vertical surfaces. So they are actually unable to perch like a robin would on a branch, you know, like this. These guys are like this. Okay, next slide, please. Next one. There, we got it. For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Here we are at the nest, which is built by the parents with small twigs gathered on the wing. Imagine that. They're flying around. There's a tree with twigs at the end, and they break those off, bring them back to the nest site. And they have to, this is so cool, you guys. They have to put the nest together with these sticks and attach the nest to the nest site. And yeah, how do they do that? With their sticky saliva. You're right, it's pretty incredible. The pair are together for the nesting season. They build a nest, voila, 3 to 5 eggs, and they take turns feeding the young by regurgitating insects collected in the back of their throats in a special pouch bound together with that sticky saliva. So there she is, or he, regurgitating into the very big mouth of that little teeny tiny bird right there. The babies grow up and the little family joins other chimney swift families in the area, and they all roost together at night in a chimney or something similar. Like, they are together for safety from predators. So think raptors, squirrels, raccoons, but they're together. Let's just stop for a moment and wonder at these amazing chimney swifts. All their special equipment, I guess you could say. How wonderfully they're made. They are created to accomplish what they were born to do, to survive and to continue the species. We haven't even talked migration yet. So let's move on to that. Just a sec here.
Oops, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I thought we were going to go
Now I'm
to
going to
You're
be
good
too
to go.
quick.
I
Okay.
know, it's okay, it's all good. Migration. Scientists still do not completely understand the mysteries of bird migration, but they do think the daytime migrants, such as our guys, the chimney swifts, migrate during the day, use the sun as a compass, along with the Earth's magnetic field and landmarks, such as chimneys or hollow logs or abandoned buildings for our guys, right? That's what they need. Okay, now, this big word here that I've learned how to say pretty well. Zugunruha, German word. Tell you a little bit about it. For years, people have noticed around migration time in spring and fall that birds begin to get restless. Even cage birds become restless. They get anxious and they will fly in the direction of their migration in their cages. German scientists named this action Zugunruha. This Zugunruha notion really, I don't know, it got to me. And I wondered, do I experience Zugunruha? Is my heart restless? What's my heart restless for? Is your heart restless? I think we're in good company. You know, I was thinking about this restless heart, and I sort of thought, I remember our hearts are restless because they want to be with God. They want to rest with God. That's got to be in the Bible, right? So I Google restlessness, heart, God, the whole, you know, shebang. And who do I get? St. Augustine. And these are his words, which I thought, maybe this must have been it. So, you have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. As we let these words sit in silence within us, we'll just sort of see where that goes during this presentation. We've got a couple more in store too, so there'll be times when we'll just be stopping and sitting with this. Okay, let's get back to our chimney swifts and their migration. Okay, my dear. Thank you. So here is a range map of our chimney swift. So let's orient ourselves to the map. This orange area is their breeding area. That takes up quite a bit of the eastern United States. And the blue area is their wintering grounds. So they've left here by now. This is where they go to the South America, the upper Amazon basin. And this yellow is their migration routes. The migration route is different depending on which season it is. Springtime, or when they are returning to their breeding grounds. So right now, these little guys, this big, weighing less than an ounce, are flying from here. And now they're going to be going over the Gulf and coming up this way. And the reason they're doing that is because over the millennia, they've realized that the weather's better in the springtime going this way. And there's less storms as when they migrate south in the fall going overland. Pretty cool, huh? So as the days shorten and cool and the food supply grows scarce, hormones are released in the birds and they ready themselves for their long migration to the upper Amazon basin. They have to go. There is no decision. They have to do it. There's just something there. The chimney swifts stage to get ready for migration by forming larger flocks with nearby groups. They fly together and stay together for safety. And also they've got some veterans, seasoned veterans in their group that will help them know where to go on this migration route. They form very large flocks, and I guess that's the cue for the next slide, please.
All right.
So here we are, and for the last number of years, this is really a cool thing, fun thing to do. I am in Matamidi, Minnesota. I'm at the junior senior high school Chimney. And at the end of August, first part of September, perfect timing, get there an hour before sundown, and you will see something so magnificent. You're just, well. So it starts out sort of slow, like you can see these little black flying cigars, but there's just maybe, 20. And you can still see it's a little bit on the daylight side, right? So they start and they're chittering and they're beginning to move and see they're going to have to go down this chimney. And it's dark in there, right? So anyway. Okay. Then more and more come. And as the sun sets and the sky darkens, the frenzy really gets going because there's going to, let's go back one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
Let's see. The frenzy really gets going. The amazing thing is they seem to take turns. So it's really cool. You've got, you're looking and watching and you're wondering, well, why are some flying past and others are dropping in? And you're wondering, do they actually drop in or do they fly in? We're trying to figure it out, but it's just so fast. Anyway, it's fun. It's quite a wonder. So are they making a decision or is there some kind of an order going on? Because they certainly aren't like trying to do anything in particular. You know what I mean? Like they're not wedging anybody out. They're just like, they're doing it in an early way. And all this time they're chittering, right? So it's quite noisy. It takes about an hour and a half for all this to happen. And then it's over. It's quiet. But I want to draw your attention to this white dot right there. When we were watching this phenomenon a couple of years ago, some people in our group, like my husband, thought, but that's got to be a planet, Kathy. I said, well, maybe, let's look it up. And sure enough, that was Saturn. Saturn was like at the other side of the universe, well, not the universe, but anyway, watching too. It was like, it was in the audience. It was so fun. You just couldn't believe it. Anyway, you never know what's going to happen when you show up at an event, right? Okay. So it was really also pretty fantastic because there was a fellow there with his brother, and guess what they were doing? They were counting the number of chimney swifts that were going to drop in, that dropped in. So it's quite a, I mean, you got to know what you're doing, but by cracky, he did it. And there were 4,035 chimney swifts that night that were counted dropping into the chimney. Yeah.
With the clicker.
With the clicker and his brother. So they were working together on it. And so that information was put to eBird, which is, well, Cornell University runs the data on that. So they pay attention to what's happening, but it's a worldwide app. And they are learning so much from citizen scientists like us that will take the time to put the information into eBird. We're helping the world by just letting this scientific place know what we're seeing. Okay, we've got a couple more. These are not, the next two are from other chimneys, but they, okay, now the next one is, look at that. Can you guys see? Like just, and some people have said it's almost when they start to drop in, it's almost like a vacuum cleaner. It's just sucking them in. They just, all of a sudden they're just going in. Okay, well, I gotta get a drink of water here. Well, what they'll do, great question, Ward. So what they're doing now is they're just roosting. So they are just sleeping for the night and they're cheek to jowl in there. As you can well imagine, with thousands in a chimney like that. And as far as nesting goes, only one nest per chimney during their breeding season. So that's a great question. They don't all breed every year. And so then we've got flocks that will then roost together in chimneys. But if they're raising young in a chimney, then maybe one more chimney swift would be in there instead of a helper. But that would be it. Great question. Thank you, Ward. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which would be the range map again. Okay, so getting back to this map, just thinking about what's happening here. The migration, this journey is long, difficult, dangerous, and it's both ways. The chimney swifts are so small, they fly very high as they migrate, and they roost together at night, every night. You have to be finding these chimneys and other vertical surfaces. It is so miraculous, mysterious, and magnificent. So let's move to a beloved mystic. Julian of Norwich uses the idea of oneing to describe divine union. In chapter 53 of Revelations of Divine Love, she writes, "This beloved soul was preciously knitted to God in its making by a knot so subtle and so mighty that it is one with God." We haven't seen our precious chimney swifts now for 8 months. The day draws closer to when we will see our FOY chimney swifts, FOY. I've learned that birders use the letters FOY to let others know that that bird was the first of the year, FOY. So FOY is a special status. Okay. Okay, thanks, Lynn. So I took my phone and I typed in our address here at Kent Street and how far will it be to Peru? And here it is. So our little guys right outside here, right there, the apartment building will fly 3,932 miles. And that's for this little guy in St. Paul. And you could see how far up that range map went into southern Canada. So it's quite the miracle, magnificent miracle. Okay, let's see now. Oh, yeah, they're migrating now. We should be hearing their twittering soon, right? I mean, it's May, they're going to be here in the next week or so. So what's it going to be like to see our FOY chimney swift? Or what has it been like already to see your FOY robin or white-throat sparrow or whatever it is you're hoping to see in these next few weeks? I want to know what your FOY was or you're looking forward to seeing.
Baltimore Oriole.
Yes, and have you seen the Baltimore? Okay,
They're late.
all right.
It must be late for this cold weather. And Heinz also.
Mm.
Yeah, there's got to be sense of staying where it's warm.
There's a family of cardinals that lives in my yard, and they're back. I don't know where they were, but
It's nice to see cardinals all year round in Minnesota. We're pretty lucky, aren't we? Have that red all year round. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't see them
Lynn.
in the winter in my yard.
It just,
Also, I don't know anything about birds, but the woodpeckers are back because I can hear them.
Yeah. They're mating, aren't they? I mean, they make those, yeah, the drumming noises and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
hearing them calling more and it is quite magnificent. Yeah, wonderful.
We wait to hear the common bird. lake.
Oh.
In their back,
Yes.
but the ice is not really out yet, so
Mm.
I don't know what they're doing.
Do
Hold it
morning-
up.
Do morning ducks migrate or are they too old?
You know, that's a great question. I'm not, sometimes I see them like early, like maybe February and think, wait, you guys here all, I mean, so I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you know, Lynn?
I'm not sure what they, no, I don't. know for
Okay.
sure.
That's sort of fun. You know, if you don't know, it's just fun to see them when they happen. The, which ones? The morning? duck?
No, no, they're not. They're very prolific.
These morning ducks?
I always get excited for the water birds, the wetland birds and the water birds like swans and geese and the
Yes.
cranes when you see them in the fields just
Mhm.
outside the city, you know,
Yeah.
all those birds.
Yes.
Wikipedia says that mourning doves migrate south, however, some can be seen year round in southern Minnesota.
Well, thank you, Phil. There we go.
Uh-uh.
Inquiring minds. Thanks. Appreciate that.
I'm waiting for the wrens to
Oh,
return to my backyard
yes,
little wren
yes.
house, the only bird that will go in that house. I mean, they don't have to fight off any other birds. And they have a beautiful song.
It is lovely from that little bird, that great big
Yeah.
glorious. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, beautiful. Oh, that's sweet. Oh, thanks. Okay, let's see what's up next. Graph. Oh, that graph. Okay. So you might be wondering how the overall population of our chimney swifts is. Is it declining or is it thriving? The status of the chimney swift, I'm sorry to say, is declining. Slowly but steadily over the past 50 years, they've declined, I read as much as 50%. So I'm throwing that number out. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but what is accurate is that they are declining. And they have been designated, thankfully, as a species in greatest conservation need by the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources. So that's good. And some of the reasons they're thinking that this is happening is because insecticides in the air, or yeah, obviously. So that would be killing off the insects is what they eat. And another reason, and that's a major reason that they're thinking. Another reason is loss of habitat, meaning the forests are less. If they were going to be roosting in a tree, they might want to go there more often because now we are capping our chimneys. And so there's no place for, no place for them to nest. But let's go to the next slide, please. Nature centers and concerned citizens are constructing imitation chimneys. I know, like, here they are, obviously, you can see that. And the department, the DNR is beginning to investigate to see how successful this is for the chimney swifts. What the next move will be. So you guys, let's consider uncapping our chimneys. It would be only from April, probably to the first part of September. And it might be sort of fun to have a chimney swift in your house. I mean, in the chimney part of your house.
Kathy, before, where did chimney sweeps used to go before there were chimneys?
That's right.
I mean, I'm assuming they precede us. You
And
know,
did they make a name change when they?
Yeah, what were they
Right,
called
yeah.
before and where did they live?
Right, yeah,
Okay,
so, okay,
wow.
great. So maybe they were called the hollow log swifts
Okay,
because they would have been in vertical, so not these kind of hollow logs, but this way. So that's.
so like a tree that is dead and,
Yes.
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
hollowed out, okay.
And one place that I read, so it was only one, but they mentioned caves. So they need something to put their claws on that will, that they can cling to. And also abandoned buildings. So, but that would be what, people, so yeah. Mhm. So those would be the two natural sites. Great question. Thanks, Holly. Okay, we did. Okay, so as we wonder about our restless hearts and all that they are holding these days, Wendell Berry puts it like this. Okay.
And I see Barb is here now.
Oh, good.
an elite birder.
Yes, hi,
Thank
Mark.
you, Barb.
Okay, you could read that for us, Mark, thanks.
The Peace of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night, at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought or grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
Do you want me to show the top?
So, however it is said, St. Augustine, Julian of Norwich, or Wendell Berry, there seems to be a movement happening of the heart, the soul, even feet, wings, having its beginnings perhaps from a place of constriction, moving to surrender, or letting go, to a place of rest, possibilities, hope, of fullness of life, new life. This journey, this migration is not easy, at least from my experience. But then I asked myself, am I doing this alone? I say, Kathy, look around. Pay attention. I bet God is moving in you, through you. Pay attention, just notice. It's all there. So, one last point. A very dear friend of mine and birding buddy, Elizabeth Clausmore, always closes her bird emails with looking up. I just love that closure. So today in closing, Lynn and I are wishing you all the joy, wonder, and hope of looking up. All right, let's end with that. That wood drake. Here is the wood drake in all of its, well, not to say anything. So as we gaze, look around, pay attention, or let's talk birds. So Lynn and I are here to answer any questions or observations or thoughts or anything. But we can all talk together. I'm not any, guru or anything, but let's just talk.
One of the best sermons ever, Kathy.
Barbara, thank you. Oh my gosh.
I think it's wonderful that no matter where you look in nature, you can feel that kind of wonder and awe at how every little aspect works. And I was just thinking, of course, the reason the chimney swifts are developed like this is because other birds perch and take up the horizontal spaces. So there they are, taking up the vertical space.
Yes.
I mean, how wonderful.
Exactly, Phil. Exactly. Yes.
I've been, throughout this conversation, it reminded actually of childbirth. And that when you say they have to go, well, at a certain point when you're pregnant, you realize there's no way out.
Correct.
The way that you're thinking you're gonna have to go. And also the thing of, I've got to get things ready. I've got to be ready to do this. The nesting stuff that you do. And
Yes,
I think
yes.
sometimes we get very, as as humans, as human mammals, or as my veterinarian daughter calls, human primates. We get divorced from our physicality, and the fact that we are also, you know, physical, and we're also guided by things we don't see or understand.
Mhm. Well, I mean, Jared, I've seen this a couple.
Yeah,
times.
no, I just, I've been noticing, I go to the woods in this time of the year, not for birds, but for things that grow on the ground, and you sort of slow down and pay attention to the slow change of the world and how it's sort of changing color and all of those things.
Mhm.
And I've noticed throughout this talk how you talk about the seasonality of migration and what that means in terms of turning. And I couldn't help but notice the picture of Saturn, or the Greeks would say Kronos,
Oh,
showing up because the Roman god of the turning and returning, generation and regeneration of the cycles and seasons of the world. What a like asterisk that was on the scene you were painting there. You can't help it when you look up, notice those things that they mean something to us, even if they mean nothing at all, right? They're important. They're worthy of picking up.
yes, indeed. Oh, thank you. Oh, Holly.
Oh,
Why
Kathy.
I didn't see your hand.
Oh, no. I was struck with the Chimney Swifts in particular, that they have come into our world. I mean, when I asked you about where did they live before, it's because most of the time we're talking about us going out and appreciating nature somewhere outside of our human constructed environment. And I was just struck with the fact that they are kind of like this concept of coming into our world.
Yeah.
And just this past week, I had that exact experience at my own home. I was sitting in my house, looking out my front window, and two mallards walked across my lawn. And I'm living in Highland Park. I mean, it's not like I have a pond, you know, or anything. And they're just strolling. And then you were talking about, I don't know, I think it was just a sparrow, but he decided he needed to try and get into my home. I think he was perched like that on my screen, on my window. And like, I thought, why are you doing that of all the places you could be? So it was like, they were trying to come to me to speak and say, get out of your office, come outside. I don't know what they were saying, but anyway, so I looked up.
Yes. Oh,
Along somewhat similar lines, there's a 20th century philosopher named Iris Murdoch who writes any number of things on any number of topics, but she speaks at one point about being consumed with some damage that had been done to her own prestige by a friend or a colleague, and she just caught up with herself. And then she reports to her reader, she witnesses a hovering kestrel outside of the window, and everything shifts. And she writes, there is nothing now but kestrel. So this sense of being kind of occupied with yourself in your own world, and through birds in particular, that there's something about them that draws us out of ourselves, gets us not preoccupied, but instead focused on that which is other than us.
You know, we were just talking with Ward before. Oh, I'm sorry.
Colleen's
Yeah,
had
I
it.
was just
Oh, sorry,
saying,
Col-
behind our house, we seem to have, I don't know what you call them, but the wild turkeys.
Oh, yeah.
And we will suddenly just get them walking, but we're 4 row houses, and they'll just come up our pathway. Come for a visit or check out the trip. And we just saw one, and there's a big common, I don't know if he got pushed out of the gallery, because he felt want to be alone, and he's got this one feather. But when you see them, that's a bird at the top of the food chain, but when you see this bird strutting, and they do, and it's like, well, that's pretty majestic, and that sure is. It's just, you don't even think about things getting bigger, you're just watching.
Right.
And thinking, that is pretty incredible, and you're huge, and how do you fly? But it's just, it stops us. It really stops the cats, they don't have to leave it. But it just stops us when you get these huge prehistoric birds.
Yeah.
Walking right in front of your house.
It does stop us. Oh, here.
I'm not much of a birder, but I am a birder watcher. And what I have discovered in watching birders is that what you're actually doing Because you can't do what you're doing without stopping
Right.
and noticing the tiniest things. And I also know that during the migration season, the birders have to go birding.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the order of the day.
Mhm.
So there is, it's an urge.
Yeah.
It's, I think maybe it's similar.
Good point. Good point.
My
Yeah.
only criticism of birders is that you're a little bit too exact.
To what?
Exact.
Yeah, like that. If I see a bird and ask what it is, then I'm asked, okay, what color were its lips?
No, they don't have lips, Mary.
Anyway,
We've got over
I want
that.
to make a point that birding is great. I've seen it.
Okay. Thank you.
Barb, would you like to add anything? Thank you for joining us. Barb Lindeke is an elite birder.
I would not accept that title at all.
Well,
am,
we disagree.
I'm involved with Audubon Society, but only to get kids out on field trips. And where I only had to know cardinals and sparrows and chickadees.
Oh, come on.
But
She's-
no, yeah, I'm glad you're talking about it and that everybody's got bird stories. I find that that's often the case.
Mhm.
And we all seem to enjoy seeing them. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barb.
You're welcome. Did you tell them about Warbler Weekend, Kathy?
No, I haven't, we haven't talked resources, so jump in, please.
Well, just next weekend is St. Paul Audubon's big annual, this is our 50th annual trip to the Red Wing area for lots of birders, lots of field trips, lots of people walking around looking at the migration coming up the Mississippi Valley. And the headquarters of it is Hoaxilla Park in Lake City, which is an old, I think it was a Boy Scout camp originally, but now it's a city of Lake City Park. And they have because it was a Boy Scout camp, they have a lodge and some, craft cabins and things. So at the lodge is where the St. Paul Audubon information would be. And so if you're in the area or if it's a nice day and you want to walk around with lots of birders around to ask what you're looking at, for resources, come on down to Hoaxilla Park in Lake City on next weekend.
Thanks. That's great fun. It's great fun.
The St. Paul Audubon Society has a nice website where that would be clarified where it is and so forth.
Yes, and a Facebook group.
Okay.
All right. How are we doing?
I think we're good.
We're good?
Next week, we're going to delve into the world of the bald eagle and learn more about it, its habits, what we share with it, what it teaches us. So, thank you, Kathy. That was great.
Oh, yeah, Barbara.
This is my favorite line in that Berry poem, which I think is absolutely gospel, that poem,
Mhm.
is laying down next to the wood duck. And even, this is a horrible transposition, but laying down next down to a dog or a cat.
Yes,
And
right.
putting your head on them.
Mhm.
You do sense a different kind of existence,
Mhm.
a piece that you really can't describe unless it's a favorite moment. And that provides, that is a definition of peace that is very real.
Mhm.
It can be described in company.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. One of Jerry's sons read that at his funeral,
Mm.
and it brought those memories back. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah, well, you know what, we had to decide between Chimney Swifts and cranes, and in the meantime, I've written the International Crane Foundation, and so I've got a lot of sandhill crane information I'll just put back there for these next 2 times. Anyway, when you come in next time, grab some. It's a very worthwhile place to visit, and maybe another day we'll.
It's a whole new meaning to the phrase dropping in.
Good, that's good, Barbara. Okay,
On that note, let's thank Kathy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks a lot. It
You
was-
are kind of a bird evangelist.
Well, I had help, we don't do these things by ourselves. Thank you very much, and a shout out to Craig. Yeah. Thank you, Craig, very much.
I noticed that quote came from Richard.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes.
I
I just
had
enjoyed it.
Julian's book, and it's just so inspiring. Her writing.
Yes. I thought this one just really, it just was, I don't know, it really spoke so well to what I was thinking. Hi, Ward, this is my good friend, Ward Bauman. who-
Yes, yes.
Oh, that's right, you got, yes, you guys have meditated upstairs together.
Thank you so
In other ways, the house of
Quite
prayer.
eye-opening.
That's it.
I always tend to dismiss it.
Good to see you.
Well, give a big hello and a hug to Jan. She's feeling. Oh, good. That's great. Thanks, Phil.
Thanks.
You know, today.
What a perfect presentation.
Oh, my God. So I sent a picture and I.
When you go there, making that to our own.
Right,
If we can pay attention to that, it's developing
Right, the
DNA
rival
in
anniversary of
our
my
own
years.
generation.
Very
It's just wonderful.
I wanted to shout out to Roma when I was looking at you saying fullness of life, and I just thought of Kathy. He knows you're saying Roma. He knows.
It was wonderful. Kathy. Thank you so much.
Coming.
Oh.
You gonna go to the service or you?
I am.
Are you? Will you sit with me?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
sure.
okay, cool, fun. All right,
Yeah,
great.
I'd love
Okay,
to.
good, nice. Okay. Woo-hoo, we were good.
You, it was you, it was yours,
Oh.
I'm married.
over the top. So, I might have to run to the
Yeah, so let's